The Cincinnati Reds scored 20 runs in an offensive onslaught. Tommy Pham is going to get his. Kyle Farmer and Nick Senzel both went 4 for 4. What does it all mean? Jeff and I have got you covered on today's Locked On Reds. Let's go.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Reds with myself, Jeff Carr, and my co-host, Stephen Offenbaker, who is back and ready to talk about this amazing Reds lineup that just exploded yesterday. We have podcasted about the Reds for going on our 4th season and are quite addicted to this Reds baseball team. And today's a good day to be addicted to them because we are Locked On Reds and it's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available on all platforms. We are going to talk about this game that the Reds absolutely exploded. They scored the most runs in a single game this century. Also, Nick Senzel has got quite the storyline this season. We talked about it a little bit in spring training, but we haven't talked about it that much since the season started. Well, yesterday he was on base 6 times, so we've got to talk about Nick Senzel and the opportunity that he has to take advantage of this year. And Tommy Pham, is he just selfish, or is his selfishness actually helping the Reds? We're going to get into all of that, but Steve, first, 20 runs in one game. They missed the extra point. They could have had 3 touchdowns, but oh my gosh, what a performance.
I want to say the last time they scored this many runs was in the 90s, I think, like in the early 90s. It's been a long time since the Reds have put up this many runs. Now, don't get me wrong. I kind of wish maybe they had spread this out throughout the series a bit and maybe, won a bunch of ball games. But listen, anytime your team puts up 20, it is a fun day at the ball yard. Let me tell you, watching some of the performances, the individual performances, I've already teased it a little bit from Kyle Farmer and Nick Senzel. Amazing. What we've seen, Tommy Pham, your guy, do thus far has been so much fun to watch. And when a game comes along where everybody is kind of able to put it together, even when your starting pitcher may not be quite lights out, it was a fun day to watch some Reds baseball.
I was talking about this the other day with somebody. I was like, you are not a baseball fan if you haven't complained about your favorite team's lineup, complained about your favorite team's bullpen, and I'm going to add one. If you haven't said, you know what, we scored too many runs today, we needed to spread this out over the next couple. I just love it, man. It was the gif of Kylo Ren where he's just going, more! And it was just continuing through the entire game. But the biggest question I have from all of this, from the 4-hit day for Kyle Farmer, the 4-hit day for Nick Senzel, the 3-hit day for Tyler Stephenson, the 3-hit day for Albert Almora Jr., was any of this real?
Well, it was real, but settle down.
So we're, yes, 20 runs a game. Here we go.
It's a thing that happened, but let's not expect this type of offensive performance every day. Now, listen, I don't think anybody expects that suddenly now the Reds have turned a corner offensively, but I think that what we have seen is that there's guys in this lineup that needed to get some time. They needed to see some major league pitching, and they really did need this kind of success. I can't emphasize enough how important it was for Nick Senzel to have a game like this, where he was 4 for 4 and on base 6 times in the leadoff position for this team after what he's been through this season. That, talk about a confidence builder, talk about being able to come into the next series feeling like maybe you've got something to contribute for this team. Nick Senzel should be on cloud 9 right now.
I gotta agree with that, especially when you look at some of the performances that he's been putting up here lately. He's been doing great with the glove, but it's been the bat that's been his biggest question mark. And we'll get into Nick Senzel here in a little bit. There was also something that really struck me was there in that 3rd inning. Whenever there were runners on 2nd and 3rd, and Tyler Naquin got pinch hit into the game, and they immediately walked him. They said, no, we want nothing to do with this. We're going to intentionally walk. David Ross threw up 4 fingers, and the umpire sent him to first because they wanted to walk him to get to Albert Almora. former Cub, facing his former team, getting disrespected, saying, yeah, we'd rather load the bases than face Tyler Naquin and load the bases and face our former dude who we know isn't going to come through in this. Well, guess what? He came through, Steve. That was a pretty nice day for one dude that honestly is kind of an afterthought even in the Reds' plans at this point. But, I mean, 3 hits for Albert Almora against his former team. That's got to feel good for him.
Oh, that's an opportunity to just kind of be like, want to go ahead and let me walk? All right. You don't want to keep me around? All right. I got something to show you. You love to see it. I'm telling you, this was a very, I think for the fan base, for the players, for the manager, I think this was pretty cathartic for everybody involved to just have this team go out and bash the Cubs for a solid 9 innings. I think nobody's even too worked up over Hunter Green giving up 5 runs in this game just because of the amount of offense that was present throughout.
There was a brief moment there where the Reds were up 10-3, and here I'm thinking, okay, they can do no wrong. And then he allowed back-to-back homers, and I'm like, they can do no wrong, right? No wrong, right? We're not going to blow this, are we? And thankfully, that did not happen because he was able to calm down. And then, honestly, the rain delay, I've never thought of a rain delay as a good thing, but it kind of came at an all right time because it forced the Reds to move on. It forced the Reds to bring in Jeff Hoffman, and it forced the Reds to not rely on Hunter Green to continue to pitch through suboptimal weather conditions. And I know this is a thing that we just absolutely just wring our necks about when we talk about Luis Castillo pitching in bad weather things. But as a rookie, I don't want Hunter Green out here pitching when he can't grip the ball. Like, I'm fine with him coming out of the game in that situation, and I'm glad that happened.
No, you got to protect him. And, as far as the rain goes, you're right. That was couldn't have been drawn up any better. Kind of slow everything down for a minute, force David Bell's hand a little bit and get into that bullpen. I agree. That was very beneficial for the Reds, the timing of the rain delay.
I am going to be 100% honest. I am super excited, and I love how much how much fun that was to watch that game. But overall, in the big picture of things, in the grand scheme of it all, don't get too excited, guys. This is baseball. Baseball happens. There's some crazy things. You have teams that aren't on paper the better team just absolutely come up and clobber a much better organization. But in this case, I think it's just fun for what it is. Let's not read too much into it, and let's see what the Reds can do against the Giants this weekend.
Well, Jeff, you're absolutely right. It was a lot of fun, especially for guys like Nick Senzel and his 4 hits, 6 times on base. For Kyle Farmer, 4 hits, 2 home runs. Is it a sign that they're breaking out finally? I don't know. That might be jumping the gun. But I can tell you this. If you want your healthy eating habits to break out, you should head over to Built.com right now and get yourself a Built Bar. Look, I am a big fan of brownies. You're a big fan of brownies. We all love brownies. You know what we love more? Eating the brownie batter, licking the spoon, getting the beaters after you've mixed it all up. We all do that to this day. And sometimes you eat more of the batter than actually makes it into the pan to make the brownies. Now, imagine if you could do that and still get your protein and be healthy. Well, you're in luck because Built has a new creation, and this one is better than ever. This is the Brownie Batter Puff. You heard me right. It's a puff that takes protein bar to a whole new level. And they're available right now at Built.com. Have you tried Built Puffs yet? I'm not sure what you're waiting for if you haven't. Puffs are a chocolate-covered marshmallow infused with protein. You heard me right. Chocolate-covered marshmallow infused with protein. That's right. Delicious flavored marshmallows covered in 100% real chocolate. They have great health statistics. We are a baseball podcast. We love the stats around here. 140 calories, 17 grams of protein, and only 7 grams of sugar in the Brownie Batter Puffs. They are perfect for a pick-me-up. They are perfect to keep your diet on track and still let you feel like you're cheating on that diet just a little bit. Again, all these puffs are covered in 100% real chocolate. That means with Built, you can eat healthy healthy and actually enjoy doing it. They are made with collagen protein, which your body is able to absorb a lot easier, more efficiently, and it provides tons of health benefits. So head over to built.com right now and get your brownie batter puffs. Make sure you use the promo code LOCKED15. That's going to save you 15% off of your next order at built.com. Again, that promo code is LOCKED15 for 15% off your next order at built.com. Thank you for making Locked On Reds your first listen of the day. Now for your next listen, check out the Locked On Now podcast. They've got recaps of all of the games throughout Major League Baseball with analysis from our local experts. We're going to be taking you through the Major League Baseball season like no other network has ever before. The Locked On Now podcast is available, free and available, wherever you get your podcasts, just like Locked On Reds. Make sure you're following the podcast on all platforms, including YouTube. Coming up next week, we're going to check in with Memorial Day upon us. It's a good time to look at where the Reds are, how they're doing, and what could possibly be coming up as far as trades, as far as improvements, as far as the next phase of the season for the Cincinnati Reds. You know what we don't have to look too far ahead to figure out, Jeff, is that Nick Senzel's time is right now. He really seems to be putting it together after his latest stint on the injured list.
Yes, I agree. And you're talking about a dude that overall this season has looked elite. I'm not talking good. I'm not talking great. I'm talking elite defensively in center field. Yes, there's still a little bit of cringe whenever I see him dive for a ball or jump for a ball, but man, that catch that he made today up against the wall was a thing of beauty, ranging over as far as he could possibly extend his arm, jumps up, grabs the ball, just absolutely beautiful. He has been doing that all season long. And obviously we're not even to June yet, but he has been doing it here for these first 2 months, and it has been awesome to see. I'm so happy to see that the bat came along today, and I am hoping that this is a little bit of a narrative that's more of things to come.
You know, it's funny you mention how we react when he makes a tremendous defensive play with great effort. I don't know, if you recall, but, they're towards the end with Ken Griffey Jr., every time he would make some kind of significant play, there was always that same fear. And this feels the same to me. Every time he lays out for one or hits the wall or dives or does just anything amazing, I really find that I'm holding my breath until I see him pop up and wave and throw the ball or whatever, because he's just had such bad luck as far as his health is concerned. But to your point with what he's doing right now, I mentioned it up top in that first segment. I think that what happened in that final game against the Cubs with that 4-for-4 performance is going to go a long way just in helping remind Nick that, he is a big league ball player and he belongs in this lineup. And when he's right, he can contribute in a big way for this team. And I hope that this is the spark. This is the momentum shift that really gets him going and helps him put up some significant offensive numbers here as we move towards June.
Yeah, because I look at Nick Senzel and I say, this is something that we talked about in the spring training, and it's not a new narrative, but it's one worth mentioning again. Are we penciling Senzel on this roster for the foreseeable future? Because that question is getting answered this year. It's not going to get answered next year, because if we have to wait till next year, I don't think the answer is yes, because he has had a couple of years now to stick on. And I think that's kind of where you've got to wonder. You always talk about a professional athlete playing with a chip on his shoulder. Nick Senzel should definitely have a chip on his shoulder, but that chip has probably grown so freaking big that it's almost got to feel like a boulder at this point. This isn't something that Nick Senzel has seemed to have been overcome until yesterday. We got that breath of fresh air that maybe there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe Nick Senzel can figure this out, because we talked about it a lot, because he missed a lot of time last year again. And Jonathan India came out of nowhere and became the Rookie of the Year. And then you look at this and you say, are we just going to forget about Nick Senzel now because, well, the Reds have Jonathan India? It would be super awesome and helpful to the Reds' future if Nick Senzel can figure this out, but it's got to be this year.
I think so too, especially when we look around the Reds minor league system, and you and I have talked about this a lot, that there are so many talented players that have that mythical, magical 2024 written after their name. You know, if Senzel doesn't submit himself into this lineup this year and continue to build upon it next season, one of those guys is going to take his job. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when.
Yeah, looking at Michael Ciani for that one. And then we mentioned Chris Heisey the other day when comparing him to Aristides Aquino, and I got a little bit of pushback on that. But then Nick Senzel becomes Chris Heisey. And I think that would be a huge disappointment for everybody involved.
Yeah, and you know, the thing with Senzel is I've tried to give him the benefit of the doubt, because I do feel like he's been asked to do a lot in changing positions and moving around and the service time games and all the things that happen. But you know what? Enough time has passed from there that's just excuse making at this point. The only real thing that we need to see is a healthy Nick Senzel go out and perform. That's where we're at. There's no more of this, oh, but he was this, and oh, they didn't treat him right, and oh my goodness. No, that's all out the window. Those excuses have all been used up, and it's now basically time to put up or shut up.
Yeah, I agree. And it's interesting to note that StatCast isn't super bullish on what he's doing right now. According to StatCast, his exit velo, his hard hit percentage, and even his barrel percentage are all well below league average. In fact, this year, and we were talking about this off air, this year, even including yesterday, he has 1 barrel all year long, according to StatCast. Now, part of that is probably just due to small sample size and the fact that he's missed some time being sick and stuff like that. But these numbers are more predictive than they are just like your typical matchup statistics and things like that don't really predict anything. These ones do. And like, for instance, his exit velo is an average of 86 and league average is 88. So you kind of wonder there, is it going to tick up soon, or is this indicative of, okay, 4 hit days are nice, don't expect them hardly at all moving forward?
You know, I think that the real true Nick Senzel is somewhere in the middle. He's not that guy that underperforms like he has been when he's been hurt. And he's probably also not a guy that's going to go and hit, 320 on the season and go 3 for 4 most days. I think he's not either of those guys. He's somewhere in the middle. So those inconsistencies are going to continue to be a thing that he needs to work on, and he's going to need to deliver on the things that he said he was going to do. But you know who has delivered on the things that they said they were going to do? And you spent some time talking about him yesterday while I was a little unavailable, and that is your guy, Tommy Pham.
Yeah, definitely Tommy Pham. We got to talk about him because when you're talking about Nick Senzel, Tommy Pham's been playing alongside him out there in the outfield, and he's been a lone bright spot consistently in the Reds lineup. And we are going to look at why coming up here in just a moment after I tell you why BetOnline is the best spot for your sports betting information, because betonline.net has you covered when you're talking about baseball, when you're talking about the NBA playoffs. Probably by the time you're listening to this, you'll know what's going on between the Western Conference Finals of the Warriors and the Mavericks. They're playing right now. But that one, if the Warriors win, then they're going to the finals. Then you've got the Eastern Conference Finals. You got Stanley Cup hockey that's going on. So much is happening. Plus, UFC and boxing. That betonline.net has you covered for all of it, because it continues to be your number one source for sports info and sports wagering, props and odds and lines. So check them out today. You can use your mobile device or on your desktop. Go to betonline.net to check out all of the trends and action. Plus, they've got amazing deals, whether you're talking about some different promo offers for each and every sport during each and every season. And hey, NFL futures, it's never too early to say that the Bengals are going to win more than 9.5 games. Yes, that's currently their over-under. I think that's ridiculous. I've smashed the over, whatever. I love the over on Cincinnati sports wins, obviously. Go to betonline.net and check them out today. It's BetOnline, where the game starts. Make sure you're following us on Twitter. You can follow Steve at S. Offenbaker with 2 Fs. You can follow me at Jeff Carr with 3 Fs. And you can follow the show at Locked On Reds with 0 Fs, which is the only one that's not currently on the screen right now. So we might as well say, at Locked On Reds. Plus, make sure you're following us on YouTube. A lot of great stuff on YouTube that's coming for you extra wise. Steve had a great chat with Spencer Stockton, who was a Dayton Dragon. Now he's a Chattanooga Lookout. So,
hey, you come on this show and you get promoted. That is the narrative.
If you play baseball, I can't guarantee any other kind of promotions, but no, I'll tell you who we ought to be promoting though. It's Tommy Pham. And I get it. He has gotten some hate because of comments that many people deem selfish, and they kind of did sound selfish. I'm not going to say they weren't, but a guy saying he's going to get his kind of makes you think that he doesn't care about his teammates. Well, guess what? Tommy Pham is getting his, and it's helping the Reds get theirs.
It's important to remember that when he said that, the very next part of what he said was pretty much what you just said, that if he gets his, it's going to help the team get wins. But this is what I know. Tommy Pham said that he was coming here and he was looking to demonstrate that he could still be a valuable contributor at the major league level, that he was going to come out, he was going to get his numbers, he was going to perform, and he was going to help a team have success. Now, he signed with an absolute train wreck of a Cincinnati team, and who could have envisioned that, 24 of the 26-man roster would be on the injured list or whatever ridiculousness that we've gotten to at this point. But this is what I know. Tommy Pham has done exactly what he said he was going to do. He's gone out, he's played good defense, he's played good offense, he's hitting the ball. He is a threat in the lineup. He has been a spark in a lineup that has really lacked any type of spark otherwise. So, I believe, rare hat tip to Nick Kroll, Tommy Pham has earned his money. He was a good signing.
I agree. And one other thing he's been is aggressive. Talked about the base running a little bit. He just had amazing plays today. He was hitting on a 3-0 count. You never see anybody do that anymore because a lot of people just miss and then they get absolutely lambasted for swinging at a 3-0 pitch. But he picked a good one to hit. He hit a double. He scores on a ball that didn't even leave the infield. And as he's crossing home plate, because he just blew through the stop sign from J.R. House, as he's crossing home plate, people could hear him saying, I was never not scoring. I was never not scoring. I love his intensity. I absolutely love watching Tommy Pham play, and it pains me to have said yesterday that he is the most likely player to get traded. I'm not going to back off on that take. I still believe that he is the most likely Red to be traded, number one, because of his performance, but also number two, because they're not going to ask the farm for Tommy Pham. But I still think that there's a reason that he is number one, and that is because he has played so well. I have loved everything that Tommy Pham's brought to the plate.
Well, he's affordable. He's on a 1-year deal, and he's playing well. You combine those three things together, of course, he's probably the number one guy that another team would look to pick up to bring in to help with a pennant chase. The thing that I've liked the most about what I've seen from Tommy Pham, though, Jeff, is that while he is out there being aggressive and hustling and doing all the things that we just talked about, you do also see him trying to hype up the other guys. And you do see him trying to be a leader on a team where he may not have necessarily been expected to come in and be a leader if everybody had been healthy and the season had gone according to plan. I think you don't expect Pham to be that type of a leader in the clubhouse and on the field, but he's really embraced it. He has stepped up and really, and especially in an outfield that's, basically choose your own adventure every night, depending on who you put out there. He's a very stabilizing, calming factor. And I never thought we would say that about him in those first few days after the Reds signed him.
I totally agree. And the funny part is because the main take that surrounds Tommy Pham, and the take's not wrong because I totally agree with it, but he's like a year too late. Like he would have been an amazing addition to this team a year ago because he just mashes left-handed pitching. It's like, I've had a couple of jobs before I just decided to start covering the Reds for a job. And that is, one job I worked at a bank. I won't say what bank, but every person that I worked with that had been in that organization for, 10, 20, 30 years or whatever, it's just like, boy, I remember those days. I remember the good old days. Can you imagine how many players are saying that to Tommy Pham? Like, boy, I remember the good old days of like a year ago, whenever we were trying, whenever we were going for the playoffs, and Tommy Pham's got to be like, yep, all right. Well, we going to go out and win today or what? Because he strikes me as that dude. He's just like, you know what? Whatever. I get it. The team's been gutted. The front office has been given this mantra to cut the payroll. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to hit the ball and I'm going to score runs and we're going to try and win as best as we possibly can. And there's something that's super admirable about that.
Well, and the bottom line, Jeff, is that what's good for Tommy Pham is good for the Reds. If Tommy Pham has success, the Reds have success. And I'll take it. And I don't think that I care what his attitude's like along the way, as long as he continues to perform and put up the numbers that he has. But that is probably a good spot to go ahead and wrap it up for today, Jeff. I think that will do it for this edition of Locked On Reds. Coming up next week on the podcast, it's time to take our first real check-in at the Memorial Day checkpoint of the season and see how the Reds look as far as the players who we think are still going to be here in a year or two, as far as what we think this team will do as we scream into the Major League Baseball summer season. It's going to be a fun look to kind of give us an opportunity to prognosticate a little bit. Thanks for making Locked On Reds your first listen. Now make Locked On MLB your second listen. Sully brings you his unique perspective on the major leagues, both past and present. The Locked On MLB podcast, just like Locked On Reds, is free and available on all platforms. Jeff, the Reds scored 20 runs, and that's going to happen every day the rest of the way. Well, and what can everybody expect from us while it's going down?
They can expect us to be Locked On Reds every single day. And happy Memorial Day to everybody. We'll see you on Tuesday.